The name echoes across the world. Manchester United, a club built on glory, rebuilt from tragedy, and now searching for a way back. Once the most feared team in Europe, United's story is a roller coaster of dominance, disaster, and dramatic rebirth. Before the sold-out crowds at Old Trafford, before the Champions League glory, and even before Sir Alex Ferguson, there was a railway team. But how did it all happen? And where is it headed now? Under new manager Ruben Amorim, in 1878, a group of workers at the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railway Depot in Newton Heath decided to form a football team. Their goal wasn't fame or fortune, it was simply to enjoy the game. They called themselves Newton Heath LYR Football Club, and they played matches on a humble piece of land near their depot. But from this modest beginning, the seeds of greatness were planted. Newton Heath wore green and gold, the same colors that later became symbols of protest against club ownership. But back then, those colors stood for gritty industrial pride. The team competed in regional leagues and joined the Football League in 1892. However, success was elusive. Financial troubles mounted, and by 1902, Newton Heath was drowning in debt. Then came a savior, John Henry Davies. A wealthy local brewery owner stepped in. Legend says he discovered the club through a chance meeting involving a lost dog. Whether true or not, what mattered was that Davies invested in the struggling team and insisted on a complete rebrand. Newton Heath LYR was renamed to Manchester United Football Club, and with a new identity came a new direction. The name Manchester United wasn't just a name, it was a vision. The club switched its colors to the now iconic red, white, and black, signaling the birth of something bigger than just a team. By 1808, Manchester United won their first league title, led by manager Ernest Magnol, and followed it with an FA Cup victory in 1909. In 1910, they moved into a new stadium, Old Trafford, built by Davies for £60,000, a small fortune at the time. The venue would become one of the most legendary stadiums in football history. But just as success came, the world changed. World War I halted football, and United entered a period of decline. Throughout the 1920s and 30s, the club bounced between the first and second divisions, struggling financially and competitively. And yet, the club never disappeared. Behind the scenes, United maintained a working-class loyalty. In a city defined by labor, industry, and resilience, the football club became a mirror of its people, broken, battered, but never beaten. Then came World War II, and with it, another reset. Football stopped again, stadiums were bombed, and squads disbanded. But as peace returned, a new figure emerged, a man who would shape the club forever, Sir Matt Busby. Appointed in 1945, Busby was a former Manchester City and Liverpool player. But more than that, he was a visionary. He rejected the traditional idea of boardroom-controlled teams. He demanded full control of training, tactics, and signings. The club agreed. It was one of the most important decisions in football history. Busby believed in youth. While others bought experience, he built a factory of talent. His philosophy? If you're good enough, you're old enough. He promoted teenagers into the first team. They were fast, fearless, and played a beautiful attacking brand of football. They became known as the Busby Babes. Players like Duncan Edwards, Tommy Taylor, and Roger Byrne weren't just talented, they were special. They won the first division title in 1956, and again in 1957, and their average age was just 22. They weren't just winning, they were redefining football. Europe noticed. Busby, a pioneer, wanted to take Manchester United into the European Cup, now known as the Champions League. At the time, the English Football League opposed it, but Busby insisted. In 1957, United became the first English club to play in the competition. Everything was pointing toward a golden era. But then, tragedy. February 6, 1958. United were returning from a European Cup quarterfinal in Belgrade. Their plane stopped in Munich to refuel on the icy runway. After 2 failed takeoff attempts, the plane tried again and crashed. The Munich air disaster took the lives of 23 people, including 8 players, 3 staff, and journalists who had followed the team. Duncan Edwards, who many believed would become the greatest player England ever produced, died weeks later in hospital. He was only 21. The Busby Babes were gone. The football world stood still. Sir Matt Busby was gravely injured. Doctors didn't expect him to survive, but he pulled through. While healing in Munich, he considered retiring, but his wife told him, "You have to go back and finish the job." And so he did. Manchester United didn't fold. They didn't abandon hope. They rebuilt, again, from ashes and grief, The spirit of United grew stronger. After surviving the crash, Matt Busby returned to Manchester United within weeks, but the faces around him were gone. The young team he'd built, the Busby Babes, was no more. And yet, the mission was still alive. Assistant Jimmy Murphy, who hadn't traveled to Belgrade, stepped in during Busby's recovery. He led a patched-together United side through the rest of the 1957-1958 season, even reaching the FA Cup final just 3 months after the disaster. They lost, but it didn't matter. The world applauded their courage, but rebuilding properly would take time. Busby slowly crafted a new generation, this time blending experience with youth. He brought in proven talents like Denis Law, a Scottish forward with a fiery edge, and Paddy Crerand, a midfield engine from Celtic. But it was in the youth system that he struck gold again. In 1963, the New Look United won the FA Cup, defeating Leicester City at Wembley. It was the club's first major trophy since Munich. It wasn't just silverware, it was a message. Manchester United were back. Then came the arrival of a boy from Belfast who would change everything. George Best. Signed as a teenager, Best had magic in his boots. He played with the street flair of a kid who grew up dribbling through alleyways, yet had the composure of a veteran. He was fast, fearless, and unpredictable. He could score from anywhere and beat defenders just for fun. Off the pitch, he became football's first pop star. Nicknamed the Fifth Beatle, George Best was as famous for his lifestyle as for his talent. But when he stepped onto the pitch, he was unstoppable. By 1965, Busby's New Look side were league champions once again, with Bobby Charlton, a Munich survivor, controlling the midfield, Denis Law storing goals for fun, and George Best dazzling defenders. Manchester United had a front three that terrified Europe. In 1967, they won the league again, and that set the stage for the ultimate prize, the European Cup. 10 years after Munich, Busby brought United back to the competition, but this time, they were on a mission. Every match was personal, every goal a tribute. On May 29, 1968, Manchester United faced Benfica at Wembley Stadium. The Portuguese side had Eusebio, one of the greatest strikers of all time. The stakes couldn't have been higher. The game was 1-1 after 90 minutes. In extra time, United exploded. Best slotted home. Brian Kidd, on his 20th birthday, added another. Charlton scored again. Final score, 4-1. Manchester United were champions of Europe. It wasn't just a win. It was a resurrection. 10 years after Munich, Matt Busby fulfilled his promise. He had built a team, lost it, and built another, and now Manchester United were kings of Europe. Busby wept as he lifted the trophy. Charlton, the last of the Babes, raised it in memory of his lost teammates. The club and the country celebrated a triumph that meant far more than football. That night at Wembley was about redemption. It was about closure. And it was the pinnacle of Matt Busby's career. Soon after, Busby stepped back. His legacy was secure. But Manchester United would find that replacing a legend is never easy. After the